Before we get into tonight's video, I would like to give a special thank you and shout out to Annabeth Wynn of Depop, because it was on her page that I found this, the ultimate Ariana Grande merch, according to me. Annabeth, thank you so much for our sale, because now, when I look down, I can officially know that the light is coming to give back everything the darkness stole. I'm Linda. This is Linda's World. This is Self-Care Sundays, and it starts right now. We'll be talking about gaslighting in about a minute. First, I have an announcement to make. You see, the fandom of Linda's World, and it's not a huge fandom, okay, we stand at 260 subscribers today. They've gotten together and decided that their official name, like Arianators for Ariana Grande, or Swifties for Taylor Swift, or Fancy Babies for Gabby DiMartino, or anything like that, they've decided that they are Linda's citizens, because after all, this is Linda's World, and they're the citizens. Which brings me to my final point before we talk about gaslighting. If you're just a casual viewer of Linda's World and you just haven't made that commitment to hitting subscribe yet, or if you're just passing by and you've never seen a Linda's World video before this one, well, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button down below and you too could be one of Linda's citizens. And then you'll be privy to all kinds of information like, well, Self-Care Sundays, what we're talking about right now, and all the cool videos that happen during the week in between. While you're subscribing, don't forget that notification bell either. Hit that so you can be notified when new videos drop to this channel, and, well, you'll be happy because there's a little bit something for everybody if you dig between the layers and think about it a little bit. Okay, now, gaslighting, not in the movie, but like in life, is a term that actually I've been hearing for like decades. I knew what it meant, like, when I was like 20. But the thing is that it hadn't been until like maybe the last 5 years or so, maybe not even that, maybe like 2, that I started hearing people using the term gaslighting a whole lot to describe like this behavior or behaviors that kind of simulate the behaviors I'm about to talk about. And the thing is that like I kind of got offended because it's overused, you know? It's like, you know, how many of us are old enough to remember the yo mama jokes? You know, yo mama so ugly that, you know, and like you would just like, or rank out, you know, you're so low you have to look up to see down, or you're so low you had to play handball on the curb, you know, things like that. And people would throw insults back and forth that way when they were like younger. And now it seems that people are throwing psychological insults to each other. Oh, you're moody, so you must be bipolar. Oh, you're scared, you must have PTSD. And what's troubling there, as a person with a mental disorder, by the way, is the fact that by using it as yo mama, by using it as like bait or like humor or like a rank out, like the old days of, you know, you're so low that, like from when I was in 4th grade, that you're actually devaluing the experience of the people involved, namely the people who are going through mental trauma. You're like actually invalidating mental trauma while you're saying it. So just as a public service announcement, you know, like while we're getting into this, I just want to say that like not everybody who lies to you is gaslighting you. Not every person who is in a bad mood is bipolar. Not every person who like panics before a test has anxiety, okay? It's just, that's life. That's the way the brain goes. Our brains are triggered to handle information in such ways, and when they're inundated with certain information, they just kind of crap out, you know? That's not a mental disorder. And also, it's not gaslighting. What is, you say? Funny you should ask. So gaslighting specifically is a set of behaviors that people use in society and in relationships to get people to, I guess, do what they want. It's a manipulative tactic. In the movie, this guy, to the best of my memory, Gaslight, the movie, Charles Boyer wanted Ingrid Bergman's money. I think. I haven't seen the movie in like maybe 15 years. So he wanted to drive her crazy, because then if she was like carted off, and being mentally ill years ago, you know, like 80 years ago when the movie was made, like had a huge heavier weight on it, you know, because of the stigma, that he would get all of her shit, right? And that was good. And it took the maid, who was Angela Lansbury, and I forget who the dude was, but they wound up hooking up, Joseph Cotton, to like be like, Paula, you're not crazy. He's making you this way. And like all the evidence pointed to the contrary. They were about to cart her off to, you know, in the old days, what was called the booby hatch, what is now the mental institution, right? And so it was blatantly obvious to the other people that Charles Boyer was screwing with Ingrid Bergman. So it should be obvious to you if it happens to you too, based on these behaviors. I call them the dirty dozen. okay? And why? Because they're 12, and they're 12 kind of crappy things that a person does to you when they're gaslighting you. And please, the disclaimer that they don't have to do all 12 of these dirty dozen things every single day, nor do they really have to do all of them. Even if you got a person only does maybe 5 of them or something, he never really, he never told me that. It's like, well, yeah, cool, but what about the other stuff? So here's the stuff. Number 1, the utmost behavior of people who are gaslighting another person is lying. Okay? And I don't mean lying like, oh, I was at Tony's house. Like, I don't mean that. I mean that they lie about, like, what's right in front of you. Like, this sweatshirt is gray. My hair is red. Because they just say untruths that are friggin' obvious. Because they want you to start thinking differently about, like, different things and questioning what you believe the truth is. Number 2 is that they deny things they said. Okay, so like they could stand there on a Tuesday night at 8:30 and be like, you're ugly and you're fat, okay? And Wednesday morning at 6:30, when you're crying and they say, what's wrong with you? And you say, well, you called me ugly and fat last night. He'll say, no, you're not. I didn't say that. Okay, you're hearing things, right? The third part of the dirty dozen is that they wear you down. If you're constantly being told, I didn't say that, you're just imagining things. Or, if they constantly tell you like things that aren't true and you're questioning what's true, you're going to get kind of freaking tired. You're going to get depressed. You're going to be worn down. You're going to be like, whatever, okay. How many of us have ever been in a texting conversation with a friend and they're telling us stuff that we disagree with so much, like politically, religiously, or about like a boyfriend of theirs or something like that, and you can't take it and you just type the word okay because you just can't argue anymore. It's the verbal equivalent of what I just talked about, texting. It's that they will wear you down. You're like, whatever, man, I can't even. Okay, the sky is green, you win, I'm going to bed now. Okay, and I have a lot of experience with this. Now, another thing that they do in the dirty dozen, this is number 4 we're up to now, is that they will use for ammunition against you things that are near and dear to you. Like, for example, a person who shared custody of their children, right? And, the ex-wife will be like, well, you promised to take them on Wednesday because I have a doctor's appointment on Wednesday. And he says, you told me it was Thursday. What are you talking about? And then tries to pressure you into changing stuff and is using your kids as ammunition. Or a person who knows damn well that you want to go to the Caribbean, right? And they're like, oh, well, if you don't agree with me, guess who's not buying those tickets to Turks and Caicos? We're not going away this year. And like, just whatever it is that you've been looking forward to, something as simple as a package arriving from Amazon, something as serious as like your retirement, okay? They use those things as like rubber bullets, if you will, to try and wear you down, like I've already specified. Okay. A person who is executing part of the dirty dozen also may not match their words and their actions together. You ever see a person who's talking to you and like their words and their face don't match? Oh, I don't want to go there. Oh, what a lovely party that was. Just doesn't match. People used to say that about George W. Bush. They used to say that when he was speaking about things that were serious, he was like cracking wise on his face, and so that's something that they'll do. Their words and their actions don't match. I love you, they'll say, treat you like they don't love you. Or you're doing a good job, but yet demote you in the company. Things like that. Words, actions don't match. What is this doing? What are all these things doing so far? They're making you question the validity of your own sanity. Did he really say that? Did I remember it wrong? Am I incompetent? Maybe so. No, you're not. It's them. Why am I whispering? Positive reinforcement. That's another one of the dirty dozen. And I know you're going to say, but Linda, if they're being positive to you, then what's the difference? A huge one, because that positive reinforcement that they're giving you is A, usually false, and B, it is a means of control. It's a means to throw you off the track. There's an adage out there in the world that says that no one is all good or all evil. That the nicest person has a side, and that the meanest person is like, loves his cat or something like that. That there is that nobody is actually Satan, and nobody else is Jesus Christ. So, like, therefore, positive reinforcement gets thrown your way, like you look nice today, or you did a good job on that test, or something like that, so that you can have something to look back on. When you're questioning your sanity and saying, maybe it's him, maybe he's driving me crazy, maybe I'm not like this at all. No, he's not doing that to me. I mean, he said I was pretty, so like he's not bad. I mean, like, why would he say I was pretty? Because he's trying to throw you off the trail, okay? Because he's executing part of the dirty dozen, okay? Now, another thing he will do is, or she, by the way, I'm just, I've got past people in my head here. I'm trying to be kind of objective, kind of hard after my divorce, but confusion. They're just gonna confuse the crap out of you, okay? Make you think that black is white and up is down, and TVs are stereos and vinyls are CDs and this is a bathing suit, just so that you don't know who you are, where you are, what you believe, where you're standing, what you're doing, what he said. Like, your brain becomes spaghetti, because once your brain is spaghetti, you're not going to use it to do things like, leave, because you're just so wound up in the confusion. Okay? Now, projection is another thing, another part of the dirty dozen. And projection is what's called a defense mechanism. Now, I am spoiling to do this video on the proper and improper uses and the maturity and immaturity of certain defense mechanisms. They're coping skills with life. Denial, for example. No, that wasn't me. Right? Reaction formation. That's my favorite one. That's the one where you, and I'm sorry for this tangent, but reaction formation is when you don't like somebody, so you treat them better. Like instead of beating them up, you like bake them pie. It's very twisted, but that video is to come. I'm gonna stop digressing now and tell you about projection. You see, projection as a defense mechanism is used as part of this dirty dozen. And very often what the gaslighter will do to the gaslightee is they will project. No, I'm not immature, you're immature. No, I didn't say that, you said that. Projection is the act of, like, in psychological terms, most simply, projection is a way of hating on somebody for qualities that you possess because you're not up to the task of recognizing that you possess this quality. So literally, the projector projects his feelings about himself or herself about a quality he has that's bad. Like, for example, I talk really fast, right? So like I would say, oh my God, that girl, she talks so fast, because I wouldn't be willing to see that I do, and then it's something that I need to work on. You know what I'm saying? The dirty dozen is almost over, and one of the things that involves other people that a gaslighter may do as part of his or her dirty dozen is to align others against you. Okay, now they don't even need to go out and talk to these people. Okay, it's not like they're texting behind your back like, oh, when Maria comes in, tell her she's ugly. No, not like that. But they get you to believe, because remember, they've already worn you down. They've already given you some positive reinforcement to throw you off the trail. They've already denied having said certain things. They've already got you driven bananas, right? So it's so easy for you to believe a sentence like, the whole department thinks of you this way. I remember everybody in the class used to say that about you. You know what? I asked your mother and she agrees, okay? Because they want these invisible allies. Because if they have these invisible allies saying that you suck, right? Then who are you going to go to extricate yourself from this situation? Who are you going to go to? Who are you going to cry? Mom, my husband is gaslighting me. Or, to your friend at work. Oh my God, like our supervisor is gaslighting me. Like, you're not going to stand up and say that because you think that you're wrong, which is the person's actual motive here. Like, his goal, his chief goal, is to have you sit in a seat somewhere thinking that you're messed up. Okay? That's like the point. So another thing they will do is simply just tell you you're crazy. Okay? Like, no, I'm not dealing with a hysterical woman today. Or, you talk to me when you've calmed down, okay? You're going crazy. Or, I don't know about you lately, I've been seeing a lot of things, makes me think you're going crazy. And so, and again, you're not gonna run to anybody because they're all against you, right? And you believe you have all these negative qualities because he projected it onto you, and so on and so forth. So you're just gonna accept the diagnosis of crazy from a non-doctor, okay? Now, there are two more in the dirty dozen, and one of them is something that people do, well, pretty often as a means of isolation, and that is to tell you that others are lying, okay? You know, like the woman comes home confident that maybe she's right and her husband is wrong and that she's not ugly and fat or whatever. You know, I'm using that as that's a low blow. I mean, obviously it goes deeper than that. You know, like you're a bad mother, you've been cheating on me, whatever. Okay. And she comes home confident that maybe she's right today, and maybe today's not the day. Maybe she has not been imagining things. Maybe he sucks, right? And she's like, well, you know, I was talking to my sister and she said that you're full of shit, right? And he's like, why would you believe your sister? Your sister's the one that's full of shit. Okay, now he X'd your sister off the list. Now you can't go to her. Now you think that the whole world thinks you're crazy, that the whole world believes whatever it is he believes about you or she believes about you, right? And the whole world's been lying to you and blowing smoke up your ass, telling you you're not so bad, when actually they all secretly agree with him or her. You know what I'm saying? And you are now isolated. You are in prison. You are in a freaking prison of your own thoughts because you listen to somebody tell you that the whole world's against you and he didn't have to start it because it happened just naturally because you suck. All right? Now, the final part of the dirty dozen is the veering or changing of subjects. My ex-husband was a master at this. You start talking about ducks, they start talking about wallpaper. And by the time you get to your point about the wallpaper, they turn back and say, but we were talking about ducks. See? Okay, they don't want you to engage in the conversation that they want. They want you to have the points that they want you to have. So they're going to finagle the conversation so that by the end of it you're talking about their stuff. Like, for example, if you're questioning the fact that he may or may not be unfaithful to you. And you say, well, I saw you not be at the office at 6 o'clock, but you said that you were. I went through your phone. A woman named Connie was on it with a text with a heart emoji. You know, it's just because I'm a creative writer that I think of these examples. Like, lots of crap has happened to me. This is actually all fictional. It just like comes out of my noggin, you know. But like, so, and then you're pointing out, like, you know, I saw the text message from Connie. You said you were in the office. And he will change the subject and be like, you know, tomorrow it's going to rain, so I think maybe we should get the grocery shopping done. And you have to now address what he said. And then by the time you go back to the original point, it's too late. Talking about ducks, you know? Like, so that is the dirty dozen. Those are the 12 behaviors that a person who is gaslighting you may do. Now, most notable examples of gaslighting are abusive relationships that are romantic. You know, married or not married, doesn't matter, right? Family relationships, like, you know, parents who are emotionally and or physically abusive to you. The friend bully, the person who is your friend but has a means of manipulating and controlling your life in this manner to keep you by their side for whatever the reason. Okay, same as a boyfriend or girlfriend. The bad boss, the boss who is a micromanaging, like, power-hungry person who has problems in his or her own mind, so has to choose a worker to do this to feel better about themselves and the company and their role in it. Okay? And lying politicians. Okay? Lying politicians will gaslight you. Okay? Both sides of the equation will do those advertisements. You know, I have my side. But we can't deny that we watch the television and we see those commercials. It's like, you know, Hillary Clinton is lying again. She's the one who did this and that, paid for by the committee to elect Donald Trump president. You know, and they make things so severe that they play with your emotions and they gaslight you into the vote or not. Okay, I don't know who's swayed by those commercials. I've already made up my mind. So now, then of course there's microaggression. A microaggression is a term that I recently learned. I thought micro is small and aggression is, you know, being aggressive, being mean. So I thought it was like being mean in small ways. I did not know that it had a racial connotation to it, and I know now that it does, and I've been educated to know that term. And it is really easy to use gaslighting for microaggression, and there's several YouTubers being called out right now for doing just that for their employees, and that's just the YouTube community. God help us with people with other jobs, you know, and people in law enforcement, and people in the White House, and people, you know, I mean, it goes like, holy cow, you know, that, like, I'm not even just talking about TikTok here. Like, there's a community full of people who are being microaggressed because of their race, and it is in fact gaslighting. Okay, so with these examples given to you of relationship types where you may be gaslit, what can you do? Okay, how can you, the gaslit person, come out the other side? Well, the first thing you have to do is recognize some of the classic sentences. Okay, that didn't happen. That's not what I said. You heard me wrong. Oh, you can't trust that side. They don't know what they're talking about. You know, everybody's been talking about you. Oh, they all say that. You can't go to him. He doesn't like you. Okay, those are the sentences that you might hear said all the time. And the gaslightee will believe them because, remember, he's been worn down so much that he has no choice but to believe the gaslighter. So what the hell do you do? How, 22 minutes into this video, am I going to tell you that this has its place in Self-Care Sundays? Extricating yourself from the relationship is probably the chief number one thing you need to do. But actually there's a list of 4, okay? So we're jumping the gun here. The first thing you need to do is to regain your connection to people outside the relationship, okay? Take a chance, despite what they say that people are saying about you, and go out there and talk to other folks, okay? Call your mom, reconnect with your cousin, you know, go out to lunch with the guys or the girls or whoever it is that you spend your time with outside of your relationship, and hear them praise you enough and get your self-esteem up enough and enjoy the camaraderie of friendship so that a little bit of your esteem is restored so that you can go tell this person, the gaslighter, where he can go and what he could stick it to, okay? And then finally, what you want to do is you want to also, before you extricate yourself, is you, because remember you're gearing up, is that you have to remember who you were before. You know, there's all those sayings, you know, like don't step over mountains for someone who wouldn't cross puddles for you or whatever. You know, I've always enjoyed the one saying that says, you know, take a deep breath and try to remember who the fuck you are. And like, yeah, you know, remember who you were. Remember what you were and what you did and how you felt and thought and how others thought of you and how you got by in society and stuff, like how you made your money, what kind of stuff you like to do, the praises and accolades you received from others or whatever before you got tied up with this individual, okay? And the present day praise combines with the praise of yesteryear will paint a self-image of you that tells you that this person is wrong AF, okay? And so then you want to do the final 2 steps. 1, extricate yourself from that relationship. As Gloria Gaynor said, and I will survive, go on now, go. Walk out the door. Just turn around now, because you're not welcome anymore, regardless of who the person is. And I know that that is easier said than done in many ways. If it's your boss, you can't just quit if you have mouths to feed. I know, believe me, okay? I know that it's not really easy to do that if you are in a physically abusive relationship and the man who's doing such things to you controls the monies. I know, okay? This is where those connections with other folks really come in, because if you can, it's embarrassing and it's humbling to admit. Like, for some reason, people who are victimized often seem embarrassed when it's the friggin' perpetrator who ought to be fucking embarrassed, okay? But the victim, you need to not be embarrassed that you're a victim. You know what I'm saying? Like, shit happens and you have connections to people, or you've now regained your connections to people. And those people can help you with those situations. Like, he's gonna kill me, well then come in my car. Okay, we'll call the police together. Okay, I need money for a hotel. Here's $200, go get a hotel. Okay, like there are people around who can in fact do this. And in fact, there are whole organizations who can do this. And if you're still around at the end of this video, hi, there's stuff in the description of this video that are links to help being made available to people in that situation. So look for those links. Go read down below and you'll find what you need. Okay, I'm not just going blah, blah, blah here. I want to help you. And there's websites and everything. So go look. Okay. And finally, when you've extricated yourself from the gaslit relationship, you need to do the first thing towards the rest of your life. And the final step in this video: hold the gaslighter accountable. Whatever that is. I know there's a school of thought out there that says let bygones be bygones and don't make waves, and like don't burn your bridges behind you and blah blah blah. Well, that's fine, but like, I mean, I don't know that they should say that to like the people who were raped by Bill Cosby. I don't know that people want to say that by like, the people whose like entire like life fortunes was stolen by Bernie Madoff, okay, in a friggin' Ponzi scheme. So sometimes you can't let bygones be bygones. Sometimes you gotta hold a man or woman accountable for what they've done to you. And that could take whatever form it needs. If the law needs to be involved, the law needs to be involved. If it's just social, if it's like an internet thing or whatever, then that's fine. The appropriate tweets and blocks and whatever, right? Okay, the appropriate like, muting of conversations on Twitter, or the taking down of Instagram posts, or whatever it is people do with themselves, right? And I'm 43, I'm lucky, I know what I know, right? That's what you do, okay? And you distance yourself, extricate yourself, and then you make sure that that just like Ingrid Bergman at the end of Gaslight, and I'm sorry for the spoiler, but you should have watched the movie already, it's a classic. You can find Joseph Cotton, the guy who like helped her. There's a Joseph Cotton in your life, and he is going to help you, the Ingrid Bergman, get out of that gaslighting situation. And if there's no Joseph Cotton around, that's when you got to pick up and be your own Joseph Cotton and figure it out. And I hope that after watching this video, you figured it out a little more. The light is coming to give back everything the darkness stole. It's not just a song. It's a movement. It's the movement of Linda's world. Have a good night. And I'll see you next week with Self-Care Sundays. And in the middle, some excellent content that, well, it's a little lighter.